Welcome to Health Hub. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today because we've got a truly fascinating explainer lined up for you. You know, we usually think of our blood type as just this random biological category, right? Like maybe it's just a trivia fact about yourself or something you only really need to know if you're donating blood. But what if I told you that your blood type actually acts as a hidden biological blueprint? It's literally, quietly working behind the scenes, influencing your overall health, your susceptibility to certain diseases, and maybe even your lifespan. Today, we are breaking down the incredible and somewhat mysterious ways our blood types actually correlate with our everyday health.
So let me just ask you right off the bat, do you know your blood type? If you don't, it is actually incredibly crucial information to figure out. Historically, we've focused on blood types almost entirely for transfusions simply because getting it wrong can be, well, a total disaster. If your body receives the wrong blood type, it triggers this massive, severe immune reaction. We're talking major complications like kidney failure, severe blood clotting, or even death. Luckily for us, modern medical testing has made those mismatched transfusion accidents incredibly rare. But here's the thing, that exact same underlying biology, it is doing a whole lot more inside your body right now than just deciding who you can share blood with.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because to really grasp the health risks and the perks, we first have to understand the basic mechanics. Your blood type is inherited directly from your parents. It's exactly like how you inherit your eye color or whether your hair is curly or straight. We owe our entire understanding of this to Dr. Carl Landsteiner. He actually took home the Nobel Prize way back in 1930 for developing what we now call the ABO blood group system. He was the one who figured out that human blood isn't just a one-size-fits-all fluid, and that this entire classification is driven by microscopic features sitting right on the cells themselves.
The whole ABO system really hinges on one totally essential biological component, and that is the antigen. Basically, antigens are specific proteins that live right on the outer surface of your red blood cells. Think of them like tiny biological ID tags. Your immune system is like a bouncer, constantly scanning these tags. If it spots an antigen it doesn't recognize, an unfamiliar ID tag, it immediately sounds the alarm and triggers a massive attack. So your blood type is essentially just categorized by which of these specific antigens you happen to have on your cells, along with the defensive antibodies floating around in your blood plasma.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the whole system maps out in the real world. If you're Group A, you've got A antigens. Group B, you've got B antigens. Now, if you are Group AB, your cells proudly wear both the A and the B antigens. Because your body is totally used to seeing both of them, your plasma doesn't create antibodies against either one. This means people with type AB blood can safely receive ABO blood from literally anyone. They are the universal recipients. But on the flip side, look at Group O. Type O blood cells are completely blank. They lack both A and B antigens. Because they don't have any of those unfamiliar ID tags to trigger an alarm in someone else's immune system, type O blood can be safely given to absolutely anyone.
Understanding whether you actually have these antigens or not is where the health correlations really kick in. For the rest of this explainer, we can basically split the population into two major biological profiles. On one side, we have those lacking these specific surface antigens, that's our type O viewers, and on the other side, we have those possessing them, our type A, B, and AB viewers. It turns out this one simple cellular division comes with a wildly distinct set of personalized health implications.
Let's start by looking purely at the type O profile. Like we just talked about, if you have type O blood, your red blood cells are essentially smooth. They completely lack those A and B surface antigens. And believe it or not, that specific biological absence creates a highly unique set of both medical superpowers and some very specific vulnerabilities.
If you are type O, you've actually got quite a few things to celebrate. Research indicates you naturally have a reduced risk of developing coronary heart disease. Medical experts think this is partly because the other blood types tend to have naturally higher cholesterol and elevated levels of clotting proteins. And because of this incredibly protected cardiovascular profile, type O individuals statistically have a higher likelihood of living longer. You also have a reduced likelihood of developing Crohn's disease, which is a really tough inflammatory bowel condition. Now, what's really interesting about this is the malaria connection. If you get bitten by a mosquito carrying malaria, you literally have a lower risk of contracting the disease, all because the malaria parasite physically struggles to grip onto your smooth, antigen-free red blood cells. How wild is that?
But hey, it is not all invincibility for the type O folks. That lack of antigens comes with its own set of perils. For instance, painful peptic ulcers, those open sores in the lining of the stomach or upper intestine, are noticeably more common in people with type O blood. Even more concerning, if you find yourself in a severe trauma situation, like a major car accident, research shows type O individuals are significantly more prone to fatal hemorrhages simply due to severe blood loss. There's also some pretty recent study data suggesting that females with a lower count of fertile eggs display a higher tendency of having type O blood. And finally, certain rheumatic diseases, which cause intense pain in the joints and tissues, show a very prevalent link to type O blood.
Okay, let's move to and see how this builds for our antigen profiles. If you're type A, type B, or type AB, your cells are actively carrying those specific protein tags. And those tags, they interact with your body and your environment in entirely different ways than type O cells do. Across the board, carrying A or B antigens means sharing some very distinct risks. People with these blood types face a higher risk of stomach cancer, and this is especially true for type A. But why? Well, it's because the molecules found on these specific red blood cells actually create a welcoming environment for a gut bacteria called H. pylori, and that bacteria leads to inflammation, ulcers, and eventually cancer. That same bacterial facilitation also heightens the risk for pancreatic cancer. On top of that, individuals with these antigen blood types have an increased susceptibility to dangerous deep vein blood clots, or VTEs. They just naturally have elevated cholesterol and clotting-related proteins, which makes these blockages much more likely to form.
Beyond those shared risks, these types carry their own daily burdens. Let's look at type A first. People with type A blood naturally produce higher levels of cortisol. That's your body's primary stress hormone. This basically means type A individuals can face much greater physical and hormonal hurdles just trying to cope with everyday stress. It's literally harder to wind down. Now, individuals with type AB face a totally different hurdle. According to limited studies, having type AB blood features a higher propensity for cognitive and memory issues, potentially increasing the risk of dementia down the line. And because medical experts believe type AB has a greater tendency to clot than any other type, these individuals are also at a significantly higher risk for strokes.
Now, when we look at systemic and autoimmune conditions, the immune systems of those with A and B antigens can sometimes experience really amplified struggles. Studies indicated genuinely higher susceptibility to developing multiple sclerosis in types A and B. For those dealing with lupus, where the immune system attacks its own tissues causing pain and inflammation, research shows types A and B often experience much more intense symptoms compared to the other blood types. There's also a higher prevalence of type 2 diabetes in these groups, though honestly more research is required to know exactly why that is. It's just a powerful reminder of how these microscopic surface antigens are deeply intertwined with our immune responses.
Now, there is one final biological component to blood typing that we absolutely have to discuss. It acts as a critical exception, or actually more of a critical addition, to everything we've covered so far about the ABO system.
It is called the rhesus, or Rh factor. Just like those A and B antigens, the Rh factor is simply another specific protein that might be sitting right on the surface of your red blood cells. If you have it, you're categorized as Rh positive. If you don't have it, you're Rh negative. This is exactly where the positive or negative in your blood type comes from, like when someone says they're A positive or O negative. And while it might seem like just a tiny secondary detail, it becomes incredibly urgently important in one very specific life scenario.
So the crucial point is exactly how this Rh factor behaves during pregnancy. Let's walk through how this happens. The major risk occurs when a mother who's Rh negative is carrying a fetus that happens to be Rh positive. Because the mother totally lacks that Rh protein, her immune system sees the baby's Rh positive cells as a dangerous foreign invader. Her body starts producing antibodies designed to attack that unfamiliar protein. Those maternal antibodies can then cross over, enter the fetus's bloodstream, and actively destroy the unborn infant's red blood cells. Thankfully, modern medicine has incredible treatments to prevent this immune response from ever happening, but it perfectly highlights the sheer raw power of these microscopic blood cell proteins.
Despite all of these incredible statistical correlations we've talked about today, from the malaria resistance in type O to the clotting risks in type AB, I want to share this really important quote from the researchers themselves. Scientists have yet to grasp the connection between blood type and specific illnesses, leaving a relationship between the two largely mysterious. I mean, we have the data, we clearly see the patterns, we know for a fact that these correlations are real, but the exact biological why, like the precise mechanics of how an A antigen leads to higher cortisol, for example, is still a massive puzzle that demands so much more research. What we do know is perfectly captured by the idea of a health equation. Currently, the medical community believes that the onset of numerous diseases is driven by a fairly equal mix of elements. On one side, you have your genetic predisposition. This is the 50% you are just born with, which absolutely includes your blood type and those little cellular antigens. But that other 50%, that is entirely made up of environmental influences and your daily lifestyle choices. Your blood type is a blueprint, but it is definitely not a guaranteed destiny.
Which leaves us with this final, truly empowering thought.
Now that you understand the hidden perks and perils tied to your blood type, knowing your own biological blueprint, how will you shape the environmental half of your health equation? Think about it. If you know you're statistically prone to stress, or clotting, or ulcers just based on your blood type, you now have the incredible power to proactively adjust your lifestyle, tweak your diet, and stay on top of your health screenings to protect yourself. So go find out your blood type, understand your personal risks, and take total control of your health destiny. Thanks so much for learning with us today on Health Hub. We'll catch you next time.